Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the webinar, where we are going to take you on a guided tour of the New Creative Workplaces website. My name's Fiona Donovan, and I'm a member of the Creative Workplaces Council. I've worked across film and television for many years as a production designer predominantly, and as an art director, and many other roles in the art department. And I've had the privilege of working all around Australia and often in remote and regional communities. I would like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I live, work, create, travel, and I give my respect and solidarity to all First Nations people and to elders past, present and emerging. Stories have been told on these lands for over 60,000 years, and it's a privilege to gather and continue that long and rich tradition of storytelling. A big thank you to our Auslan interpreters today and to the Creative Workplaces team for coordinating today's sessions for all of us. Last year, Creative Workplaces delivered a series of webinars on our key issues in our sector, including Wellbeing with Support Act, Working for Yourself, Respect at Work, Psychosocial Safety, and Fixed-Term Contracts. We are now so proud to share our major milestone through the launch of the Creative Workplaces website, which brings together clear, practical information on all these topics and more in one accessible online hub. This website is for everyone working in creative industries, and when we say creative industries, we take the broadest possible definition of this. We serve all art forms, including screen, digital games, comedy, archives, and museums. Basically, if someone thinks the work they do is in the creative or arts-based industry or space, this website is for them. We know these are challenging times for many working in the arts and culture sector. Through Creative Workplaces, we hope just to make things a little easier and empower people with the tools and confidence to build healthier working environments and where people and creativity can thrive. Today's webinar is focused on the new website, the first major step in a long-term commitment to improve workplace knowledge, culture, capability across the sector. What you will see today is just the beginning, and we hope to continue to expand the website and develop new resources in partnership with the sector. In a moment, I'll hand you over to Kate Schaffner, Director of Creative Workplaces, who will guide us through a 15-minute tour of the site's features and content. Throughout the session, we invite you all to drop your questions in the chat room, and we'll aim to answer as many of these at the end of the session. Thank you again for being here, and I'll hand you over now to Kate. You're just on mute, Kate.
Sorry, thank you, and apologies for the rookie error there. Thank you, Fiona, and thanks to everyone who's dialed in today. We're really excited to share our Creative Workplaces website with you. I'm dialing in from the lands of the Boon Wurrung people in southeast Naarm or Melbourne, and I acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands and of the lands that you're all dialing in from. I extend my respects to all First Nations people on the call today, our First Nations colleagues at Creative Australia, and to the First Nations consultants who have worked on this website with us. So to kick off, this is our homepage, and we're really stoked with how it looks. It was important to us that the site looks clean, fresh, and clear. We've used a simple navigation with user-focused headings along the top in white there, and we're trying to keep the legal jargon to a minimum. As you scroll down through the website, you'll see that some of the common topics that we think will generate high interest are linked to on the homepage. However, as more and more people use the site, we'll actually start seeing the use data of the site, and we'll use this to make sure that we link to on this homepage what the most popular topics tend to be, and also to highlight any new content as we add it. We want the site to have a look and feel that the creative community connects to. And you'll have noticed that it has this beautiful art which was created specifically for the site. We'll just take you to this page, which features the artist whose work is on the site. So 5 artists each created 3 artworks, and you'll see these 15 artworks across the site, zoomed in, cropped, sometimes rotated. We wanted to create texture and mood, and we thought that this was an appropriate way to do it, given some of the sensitive content on the website. When we briefed these artists, the brief was really broad. We wanted them to create one image for us or one piece of artwork for us that was upbeat and cheerful, one that was more somber or subdued, and there was one artist choice as well. So scrolling up towards the top navigation again, we have 3 topic-based sections on the site. The first is contracts and payments, where you find information on pay, working conditions for employees and contractors, information on unpaid work arrangements. There's also information on superannuation, intellectual property, and starting and running a creative business. In the next section, which is workplace issues, this has problem-focused and responsive information. It's information for people who are experiencing problems at work, and has information that can help them connect with the help available that they need. The next one is making safe workplaces. And the focus of this information here is more proactive and preventative. It's about how we avoid issues of safety and respect at work happening in the first place. So I'll pause now to take a deeper dive into the working out fees, payment and pricing section, which is within the independent contractors section of that first contracts and payment tab. As we scroll down, you can see that we've designed the site with a clear design, lots of white space, bullet points. Sometimes there are tables, although perhaps none on this page, to make sure that the information is easy to read. We get to the things to think about heading here, and I just wanted to pause on this one because you'll see a lot of these things to think about headings throughout the site. And it's often when there's not one straightforward answer to a question. In this case, about setting a price for artwork or negotiating on it, or work as an independent contractor more broadly. If we continue to scroll down, you'll see a number of in-practice examples. So these have been included to help people connect with the information and see how it might apply to them. One of the pieces of feedback that we received when we're creating the site is when looking on other government websites, there might be examples for carpenters or builders or people working in restaurants, and people wanted to really see themselves in the content. So these in-practice examples are intended to do that. Scrolling down even further, you'll notice that there's a number of links, usually under a heading called Keep Learning, like this. And we link there to information on other websites that's related to our content, or sometimes other content within our website. We might have a look now at the next section. So we'll go to the bullying, harassment and discrimination section, which is in the workplace issues heading. As many of you know, this was one of the issues that Creative Workplaces was established to address. And so if you scroll down, you get a sense of the content. There's some introductory information on unacceptable workplace behaviours, then more in-depth information on each topic of bullying, discrimination and harassment, as well as sections on how to deal with it within a workplace, and moving to the last one there, about where to get help if you need it. So I wanted to dive into that where to get help section because this area of the website is a good example of how we're helping users and people from all over Australia to navigate the complex federal, state and territory laws that might apply. There's actually lots and lots of options available to a person, and they vary between jurisdictions. So how we've addressed that in this website is through some filter features on the site. If you're experiencing one of these behaviours, you can select the type of behaviour you're experiencing, like bullying, where you are, might be, let's go with South Australia, and also what type of worker you are. So you could be an employee. Once you hit search there, it will filter out all of the different options available to you. As we scroll down through this area of the site, you can see that there's still lots and lots of options, but it's definitely narrowed it down a lot. There's about 140 A4 type pages of referrals sitting behind this filter, so we're definitely narrowing it down. And to help a person decide about what might be a good option for them, we've included that information about what the different organisations can do to help make that decision. A more simple example of this filtering features that we've used on the site is in the unpaid invoices and contracts dispute section. So this will appear in the workplace issues menu, part of the menu. In this case, we've used a much simpler filter because the type of help available doesn't vary so much depending on who you are. So we can select where we might be. Let's go with Tasmania. And that will bring up the different options along with information that might help you decide which option is a good one for you. So still plenty of options with that one. We might move now to making safe workplaces. So as I mentioned, this is where the proactive and preventative information about workplace safety and respect laws is. We'll add more information to this over time. But as you can see, it's already got quite a lot of information, predominantly using the work health and safety frameworks. I might stop here and have a look at the managing hazards and risks section. And this sort of demonstrates that there is further information often within each of these subsections. And I'm just taking you here because something that we get asked about a lot is psychosocial hazards. So this is where you'll find it, just here in the managing hazards and risk section. Also findable by the search if that's something you're interested in. So we'll move back up to the top navigation. And I'd like to now show you the next three sections in that main navigation. They are First Nations relations, accessible workplaces, and children and young people. So we'll have a look at First Nations relations, and we're really pleased to be able to make this content available. It was important to us in developing this content that we took a First Nations-led approach. And so to do that, we engaged Terry Janke and Company to help draft this content. And Terry Janke and Company has the IP of this section as is appropriate given the nature of the content. So in terms of the section, we named it First Nations Relations under the guidance of Bjorn Stewart, who is a Wemba Wemba and Yulanji man and also Creative Workplaces Council member. And the section was named to reflect that the audience of this information is everyone and that it's about positive relationships with First Nations people in creative workplaces. Importantly, the information in this section doesn't duplicate Creative Australia's Indigenous cultural and intellectual property protocols. It supplements and refers to them and also reflects Creative Workplaces' mandate of fair, safe and respectful workplaces, in this case in relation to First Nations peoples. If we have a look at the other two, the final two sections in the top navigation, we have one on accessible workplaces and one on children and young people. These also reflect our mandate of promoting fair, safe and respectful creative workplaces for particular communities. And there is some baseline content in both of these sections currently available, but we're actually working at the moment on enhancements to these sections. So you'll see a significant amount of content added to both of these sections over the next few months. First will probably be children and then accessible workplaces toward the end or perhaps early next year. And the reason for that is Creative Workplaces has a role in the Arts and Disability Associated Plan, which is a collaboration between the Federal Office of the Arts, Creative Australia and Screen Australia, and we'll be working together there under that plan, which will include some additional resources that will be available in that part of our website. Just a couple more things, and then we'll answer any questions that have come in. The tools and resources section along the top, the minor navigation right at the very top, is something that we'd like to draw your attention to. So one of the things that Creative Workplaces was mindful of not doing was duplicating the good resources already available, made for the sector and by the sector. And so late last year, we met with almost 120 peaks, unions, associations and service organisations to invite them to submit materials and resources that they've created for inclusion on the website, bringing them together in that central hub of information for people to access. So there's a few different ways that you can find things using this part of the website. You can use the search, or you can use the filters, which will narrow down the tools and resources available in this part of the site based on what you select. We are doing a little bit more work to improve the functionality of this section, and we hope to do that quite soon. And the other thing that we'd really like to do is to make sure that we link into these resources from other parts of the website to have that point in time relevance that we think people will really value. Almost there. So the next thing I think would be great to tell you about is the where to get help section. So this section has quick links to help and support. It's organised by the type of help and by art form. So you'll notice actually if you click through the different tiles that you may see some duplication of organisations appearing under different sections because many of these great organisations serve many different purposes and art forms. So we've included those there for those who know that they need help and just want to connect straight with it. The last and one of the most important things that we wanted to tell you about is how to give us feedback. All of your feedback is warmly welcomed. So I'll take you to this Contact Us page. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see a range of email addresses. There's feedback and complaints and anything else, which is for anything else. But also at the bottom of this page, and actually every single page on the site, you'll find these did you find this page useful question marks. You can click yes or no, and if you click either one of those, it will bring up a text box and you can send us some information relating to that page or feedback. We do monitor this and we'll be using the feedback that comes in through that part of the website to improve the site over time. And the other way that we'll improve the site is actually based on what people put in the search. So we will be able to see the search terms that get entered into the site, and that will also be a really interesting thing for us to monitor to make sure that there's the information that you're looking for, and also whether or not the search terms pull up the right content. So that's something we'll monitor closely to make sure that the search is working really effectively and that the site has information and resources that are helpful for you. So that's all I wanted to show you about the website today. This website is just the start. We are really happy with it as a starting point, and really importantly, it is a home for future things that we create. The most important thing for us is that the website works for you and it meets your needs. So please tell us what you need by one of those ways through the Contact Us page, and we'll really happily take your feedback on board. So thank you. We might look at some questions now if any have come through.
Thank you so much, Kate. We've got a good question to start with. Where is a good place for organisations to start ensuring that they're doing the right thing?
That is a really good question, and I don't want to be evasive, but I feel like that will depend on what the what type of right thing that they want to do. I think the Making Safe Workplaces section is a great place to start in terms of setting up processes and systems and ways of working that will enable you to monitor trends within a workplace and have that sort of continual reflection built into your systems and processes and really engage in that continuous improvement process. I think that's a really important one. There's a good one as well, starting and running a creative business that's linked to the homepage. And while it's not yet available, Creative Workplaces will be creating a framework, and the intention of that will be to step organisations through what they need to do to ensure that they meet workplace obligations and get things right from the start, or if they're already operating, to self-assess their workplace practices against what they should be doing to help them understand any areas for improvement. So that is likely to be available later in the year, and we'll do a really good job of that. But I've got those first two recommendations in the meantime.
Great. Thank you, Kate. I've got some more questions for you. Where can artists find information on negotiating payment, as this is often an issue for independent contractors and independent artists?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the, sorry, I'm looking away from the camera, but I'm just reminding myself as I navigate through. So in contracts and payments, there's an independent contractor section. And in that section, there is a section called Working Out Fees, Payment and Pricing. So that section includes a series of questions and provocations to help people think about how they price their work, or how much they could ask for in a particular project or job. So that would be one way. The other thing that we've referred to is a number of rate guides, which are in the same independent contractor section. And so where organisations like NAVA have a code of practice that might recommend rates, including for independent contractors or independent artists, we've referred to those rates so that people are able to connect with them through our site too.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Kate. And I have another question. How can state governments best support creative workplaces and ensure this information is known and available?
We have an excellent promotional pack about creative workplaces. So a great way for state governments to do that would be to use any of their communication channels to contact their stakeholders to make them aware of creative workplaces and the information and resources that we're providing. So if there's any state government organisations on the call, we would welcome you to email us at workplaces at creative.gov.au, and we can make sure that you have that information pack, and we would absolutely love it if you would help spread the word.
Great. Thank you, Kate. I think that concludes our questions. Are there any other questions from no more? Okay. So if it's okay with you, we might move on to wrapping up.
Perfect.
I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone for joining us today and your thoughtful questions and reflections throughout the session. We hope this guided tour of the Creative Workplaces website has given you a helpful introduction as to what is available and how this site can support you and your organisation in creating a fairer, safer and more respectful workplace. As mentioned, this is just the beginning. We'll continue to build our site over time, and your feedback is incredibly valuable in helping us shape what comes next. A recording of this session will be made available on our website in coming days. And if you haven't already, we really invite you to explore the site, which is creativeworkplaces.gov.au, subscribe to the updates via the homepage, and share this site with your networks and communities. Thank you again for taking the time to being part of this session, and for everyone and for everything you do to support and strengthen the creative industries. Thank you so much.